How's it going, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about happiness affirmations and if they work. So the first thing probably to talk about in discussing happiness affirmations is what is an affirmation. And an affirmation is basically just a word or a set of words or a phrase that you repeat to yourself in order to have some sort of impact. And when it comes to happiness affirmations, specifically to try to make your thoughts more happy or positive. Now, the question here is, do happiness or affirmations of any type actually work? Do they have any sort of effect? And the answer is a little bit complex, right? It's yes and no. Affirmations do work in the sense that the more times you repeat thoughts or images or certain phrases or ways of thinking, the more likely they are to sort of show up in your mind, right? And a lot of times we're making choices or doing certain activities where we have to have decisions. And when we have sort of these ideas ruminating or rolling around in our head that are much more likely to come to mind, they have a much better chance of actually influencing our decisions towards those sorts of outcomes, as well as they help sort of filter or look at different positions through those sort of ideas. So in essence, the way that they do work is that those ideas are simply more available than other ideas, right? The things you see and repeat often are the ones that your mind is most likely to produce. As a corollary, when you're sort of imagining or thinking about scenarios of happiness or success or things like that, it does activate some of the same brain regions that activate when you are actually doing some of those things. So there could be a bit of benefit in that realm as well. Now, here's the caveat. Happiness affirmations or affirmations really only work when they are tied to something emotional that you actually believe, right? So I think a good counterexample is basically saying, I'm a pelican, right? You could say you're a pelican 100 times, but you're not going to believe it, right? It's not going to be something that resonates with you. It might be something that comes to mind more often because you've repeated it a bunch of times, but it's very unlikely to really influence the types of decisions you're making and change outcomes for you. So affirmations need to have some sort of backing or personal meaning. And the best way to do that, I think, is to create them yourself, right? Now, you can also borrow other affirmations, but they really have to strike an emotional chord with you. They have to be something that you believe is true, right? I used to say some sort of affirmation when I was first learning about this stuff, like, I'm a king amongst men or something like that. And it didn't really resonate with me. And I did it for a long time, and I didn't see any change whatsoever because I was repeating something that just really had no basis for me. So you need to pick affirmations that you're able to ground into. Now, another piece of affirmations is sort of grounding them in some sort of reality, right? You're training your brain in a way to think of certain things more often and to sort of look at things in a certain way. So it doesn't mean that you can say things like, I will always be happy no matter what, because that's not a realistic relationship with the world and not a realistic way to sort of interact with things, right? There is no person that's going to be happy 100% of the time. Some affirmations like that may help a little bit, but it's also really easy that those can slip away from you in terms of if you're not feeling good on a particular day, it might come to mind, but it may not help you actually push through. So let me give you a couple of examples of affirmations. I focus on the good in life. I am worthy of happiness. I make choices that lead to happiness, etc. So things that basically are around your values or things that you aspire to do, you can exaggerate a little bit, but again, be careful. If it doesn't resonate with you, then it's probably not going to be that helpful. You want to pick things that have some sort of emotional valence and that actually seem helpful to you, right? Things that you want burned into your brain that can come up during important times or when you have, sort of an option of different things to focus on, ways of thinking, things like that. That's what's going to serve you best. And there is some science behind these actually do help, these sort of affirmations. Another thing to think about is verbally reciting them is the most common way and potentially the most powerful way, but it also can feel a little bit strange. So that's something worth trying, but you don't have to be anchored to that. You can also just read them or write them or listen to them. There are a lot of different options. Again, it's just sort of getting it into your brain and helping you think about these things more often and making them more available. That's all I've got, so let's move on to some reflection questions. 1. What happiness affirmation resonates with you? 2. When could you add affirmations to your routine? So another piece of affirmations is basically something that you recite regularly, right? You need to pick a certain time or part of a habit or whatever else, because the more often you recite them, the deeper they're going to be pushed sort of into your brain, right? The more available they will be during instances where it matters. That's all I've got for this video. So hopefully that helps you kind of understand affirmations a little bit better, how to use them, why and how they work. As always, if you have any questions, comments, topics you're going to cover, throw them down in the box below. I'll get to them as soon as I can, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please take a second to subscribe, as it really helps out a lot. If you're looking for more content, there's all sorts of information over at howtohappy.com. And if you want something a little bit more condensed and concise, I've also written the book Mindscaping, which is essentially a framework for optimizing happiness. So we'll have the link there as well. And that's all I've got. Thanks again. I'll see you next time.